Commission presents The Story of Miriam by Gloria Kearney. Episode 7, Trouble in Egypt.
Moses and Aaron's visit to Pharaoh had not gone well. Its main result was to put extra pressure on the Hebrew slaves. Their elders had also turned against Moses. It seemed that his great mission to rescue the nation of Israel might be over before it had properly begun.
Oh, good morning, Moses. Did you sleep well?
I didn't sleep at all for hours. I went back over everything, trying to work out why it had all gone wrong.
So did I. I kept hearing the elders' harsh words over and over again. I can't see any way out of this situation.
Well, according to the Lord, it's not over yet. He spoke to me in the middle of the night.
May his name be praised. What did he say?
Well, I asked him why he had brought all this trouble on his own people. I asked why he had sent me. I told the Lord that ever since I went to Pharaoh as his spokesman, he has been even more brutal, and the Lord has done nothing to rescue his people.
It amazes me you can speak so honestly to the Lord. What was his answer?
It was a powerful response. He assured me that when Pharaoh feels the force of God's strong right hand, he will in fact force us to leave Egypt.
That's hard to believe.
Oh, you would have believed it if you'd heard his voice thundering in your ears. I am Yahweh the Lord. I appeared to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob as El Shaddai, God Almighty. But I did not reveal my name, Yahweh, to them. I promised to give them the land of Canaan. You can be sure that I have heard the groans of the people of Israel. I believe him, Aaron. He gave me a message for the people. Will you come with me to deliver it?
I will come with you, but I fear it may not be well received.
Could you arrange with Nashon to meet the elders in his house?
Yes, of course. Anyway, I'll do my best. I'll let you know the details and meet you there. Greetings, Nashon.
Greetings, Nashon.
We appreciate you allowing us to meet in your home.
Were you not my sister's husband, Aaron, I might not have agreed. There is so much anger and pain in Goshen at the moment. Your actions have only increased our suffering. But you're here now, and the elders are here too. Come in. Gentlemen, Moses has come to speak to you.
My brothers, thank you for agreeing to meet with us. I know the last few days have been extremely difficult, but I beg you to allow me to deliver a message from the Lord Almighty.
Moses and Aaron, we have agreed to meet you today only because of the great respect we have for Aaron, and because of the powerful miracles you performed in our presence at our last meeting.
But we would have you know that your actions have greatly displeased us. The families of every man in this room have suffered pain and distress because of you and your message from the one that you say is our God.
So, speak. What is this message you have for us?
I understand your anger, brothers, but God, Yahweh, spoke to me and gave me this message for the people of Israel. This is what he said. I am the Lord. I will free you from your oppression and will rescue you from your slavery in Egypt. I will redeem you with a powerful arm and great acts of judgment. I will claim you as my own people, and I will be your God. Then you will know that I am the Lord your God who has freed you from your oppression in Egypt. I will bring you into the land I swore to give Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I will give it to you as your very own possession. I am the Lord.
Fellow elders, will you receive this word?
I, for one, will not receive it. How do we know that God spoke to him?
The people have spoken. You'd better go.
What am I to do now? The people won't listen to the voice of God?
They are too discouraged to listen. I thought it might turn out like this. But don't give up, Moses. You know what God has promised.
Yes, and I know he keeps his promises. I will go before the Lord again.
Good morning, Mother. I have made some bread for our breakfast, and I fetched water from the river earlier. How are you this morning?
Oh, just the usual aches and pains, Miriam. I'm worried about Moses and Aaron. They went back to Pharaoh yesterday. Did you hear any news down at the river?
Oh, I met El-Sheba. We went to a quiet spot where we could talk freely.
And are my sons all right?
Yes, they're both fine. You know, of course, that God told Moses to go back to Pharaoh and to bring his staff with him.
An odd request, I thought.
Well, God used it to show his power. Pharaoh asked for a miracle, and Moses told Aaron to throw down his staff. It turned into a snake. Of course, Pharaoh's magicians did the same thing by their magic, but Aaron's snake swallowed up their snakes.
A victory for Moses. I'm sure Pharaoh wasn't pleased.
No, and it didn't change his mind about allowing us to go into the wilderness to worship God. Moses and Aaron were to meet with Pharaoh again this morning. I wonder how they got on. Oh, I forgot, Jochebed. I was to bring you water from the water jar. I'll fetch it now. Mother! The water!
What's wrong, Miriam?
The water! It's red! Like blood! Oh, that's disgusting. Who would put blood in our water?
It's not just our water. Our neighbours seem to have the same problem. Oh, I wonder. Do you think this might be something to do with Moses? Didn't you say he was meeting Pharaoh at the river?
You could be right, Mother. I'll go to Aaron's house to see if I can find out what has happened. I won't be long.
Miriam discovered that day that Moses, or rather the God he served, was indeed responsible for the change to the water in her jar. And so began a period of great trouble in Egypt, trouble that the Israelites would later refer to as the plagues. They followed a pattern. Moses and Aaron would go to ask Pharaoh to let the Hebrews go to worship their God. Pharaoh would refuse. God would send another plague, and Pharaoh would beg Moses to pray to his God to end the plague, promising that he would let the people go. He always went back on his word, and so the plagues continued.
Moses, I'm so tired of all this. It's been going on for weeks now. Water turned to blood, frogs jumping all over the house. I found one in my bread bowl, one in the oven, and there was even one in my bed. They were everywhere. And it was worse when they died. Everyone swept them out of their houses into the streets. They were piled high, and the smell was just awful.
I'm sorry, Miriam. I know it's really unpleasant. But God is working on Pharaoh's heart.
I wish there was some other way to work on his heart. I'm not sure what happened yesterday when you visited him, but I've been bitten alive today. The dust in the house, and there's plenty of that in Egypt, has turned into gnats, nasty biting insects. I'm itching all over. What is God doing?
God told Aaron to strike the ground with his staff, and that was the result. You know, I was thinking about that on my way over here, and I'm beginning to make sense of it. I learned a lot about the Egyptian gods when I lived at Pharaoh's palace, and I believe that the God of our fathers is waging war on the Egyptian gods.
How do you work that out?
Well, the first plague turned the water of the Nile into blood. One of their gods is called Hapi. He's the god of the Nile, a water bearer. Then frogs came from the Nile. Heket, the god of fertility, has the head of a frog. Then the dust of the earth changed to gnats, a direct attack on Keb, the god of the earth. This was the first one the magicians couldn't copy. They told Pharaoh, "This is the finger of God." They're beginning to see that Yahweh has greater power, but Pharaoh is stubborn and won't acknowledge it.
Well, I can't take much more. I am pleading with God every day for it to be over soon.
The gnats will be gone by tomorrow. But then I'm sure God will send me back to Pharaoh. Who knows what will happen then?
The weeks that followed brought great hardship to the people of Egypt, as God sent plague after plague to torment them. Each one did seem to have an association with an Egyptian god. All the cattle and other livestock died. A possible attack on Hathor, a goddess who had the head of a cow. Boils and sores broke out on the people. This could have been a challenge to Isis, the goddess of medicine. Two sky gods, Nut and Seth, may have been next to be opposed by plagues of hail and locusts which rained down from the sky.
Moses, come in. It's good to see you.
Greetings, Miriam. I hope you're well, and my parents too.
Yes, we're all well, despite the strange days we're living in. You have been to Pharaoh so many times. So discouraging. Have you seen any change in him at all?
I think those last 2 plagues really shook him. He said he had sinned and asked to be forgiven each time. So maybe there is some hope. But as long as God continues to harden his heart each time, there's no way he will let us leave.
I find that so hard to understand. Why does God harden his heart if his ultimate aim is our deliverance?
Miriam, I've stopped trying to understand the ways of God. They're far beyond our thinking. We can only trust that he will keep his promise to us and that someday soon we will be free. Maybe this next plague will be the one that breaks his hold on us, the 9th plague. This time God has not instructed me to go to Pharaoh, but to raise my hand against the most worshipped god in Egypt, Ra, the sun god.
What do you think will happen when you obey?
God has told me that Egypt will be covered with a darkness so thick you can feel it.
The great sun god challenged, worshipped as the creator of all things, the giver of life. And Pharaoh is seen as the son of Ra. Darkness will not go down well in the palace. Moses, I will pray for your protection. May the God of our fathers go with you.
Moses carried out the instruction of the Lord, and in an instant the land of Egypt, except for the area of Goshen where the Hebrew slaves lived, was plunged into deep darkness that lasted 3 days. Miriam waited anxiously for the darkness to end. How would Pharaoh react? Would Moses survive the wrath of the Pharaoh? Would they ever be free?
In The Story of Miriam by Gloria Kearney, Aaron was played by Mark Smith, Miriam by Candace Foster, and Moses was Drew Gibson. Other parts were played by members of the Commission Radio Drama team. The play was produced in Commission Studios in Belfast by Colm Flanagan. Episode 8 is entitled Plague and Blood in Egypt.